This is Wayla Shambo for WHRO FM. For the past several weeks, we've been bringing you a virtual chamber music concert series with exclusive performances from local musicians, recorded in November 2020 at the Susan S. Goode Fine and Performing Arts Center at Virginia Wesleyan University. In this final week of the series, we'll feature cellist Rebecca Gilmore and pianist Daniel Lau performing Beethoven's Cello Sonata No. 3 in A major. I spoke with Rebecca and Daniel about the joy of playing chamber music, especially with friends, and what lessons might come out of this challenging time.
I'm Rebecca Gilmore. I'm a cellist. I live in the Hampton Roads area and I'm assistant principal cello with the Virginia Symphony, and I love practicing yoga as well.
My name is Daniel Lau, and I am a pianist, and I live in Baltimore, Maryland, and I am chair of the music department at Washington Adventist University.
So it was obvious when I was watching and listening to the two of you playing together that you have a really great connection working with each other. And I think, Rebecca, you mentioned too about how it's nice to play with someone who's a friend as well as a colleague. And so I wondered if you could tell us a little about when and where you met and started playing together.
I did some thinking about this because we've done a few things, but I always have to sort of remind myself that I have only known Dan since 2016 summer, when we met at New England Music Camp. And they do a lot of chamber music there for the artist faculty. And when I met Dan, I noticed when we spoke about music that we both were exuberant about chamber music. And the other connection is that he was in college at the Peabody Conservatory with my husband, double bass player Jason. And so that was a special connection too, because I know that if he knew Jason, that Dan was an okay person for sure. So
No, that's exactly right. And so, Jason and I, of course, went to Peabody together, but we actually connected more non-musically because we would play golf and, watch baseball and football together all the time. And so that was the connection. So when I found out that Rebecca was applying for actually the cello position at the New England Music Camp, Jason had said, "Hey, my wife is applying for a job there. Can you make sure she gets it?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." I couldn't actually do anything, but I was delighted once she did get hired there. And the New England Music Camp is actually a very special place. And for the faculty, we actually have faculty housing, so they had stuck us right next to each other, and two houses next to each other. We both have kids, and so the connection was immediate.
Rebecca, you mentioned too how you were both enthusiastic about playing chamber music, and I wonder if you two could talk a little bit about what's special about that as a musician. You both do many things in your musical lives and careers, and what makes that particular kind of music making special to you?
chamber music is something that puts you in your best light as long as you're prepared. It's a collaboration with smaller groups of people. It's a place where your voice is more prominent. So if you have something to say, it's going to be heard. And the pieces, there's so much literature to pick from that it's kind of an inspiring platform, if you will, for musicians. Chamber music is just a wonderful way to make music.
I think as a pianist also, so much of our lives are spent in a practice room by ourselves. I know Rebecca's a cellist, has always been an orchestral player. So there's always, the collective of other musicians adding to the sum of all the parts. So for me as a pianist, when I discovered chamber music, it was kind of like, Christmas every day. And one of the special things I think for me was realizing the degree to which chamber music would be as satisfying as solo work, but even more so because of working with somebody else. So with Rebecca, it was an incredible experience from the start, and part of it is that Rebecca brings such an expertise to it, but also the preparation, so that when we would get together for rehearsals, it was immediately an artistic exploration. So it's been a real joy to make music with Rebecca.
And with you too as well, Dan. I want to say that he's exuberant, he's easygoing, and he laughs a lot. So when you have humor in any relationship, friends, musical friends, any relationship, humor keeps everything okay.
So you played a Beethoven sonata for this virtual concert and wanted to talk a little bit about the piece as well. So what do you love about this piece of music? And if somebody's never heard it before, what would you say to them? What should they listen for, or what do you want them to come away with?
Well, I can say that for Beethoven A major sonata, I think that cellists love to play it, particularly because of the opening. I think if I were speaking to somebody that hadn't heard Beethoven A major before, I would say the cellist is put to the test about how you can be an equal partner in this chamber music piece. And Beethoven certainly stretches the boundaries of the instrument.
We talked about chamber music and the glories of chamber music. This is the perfect example, I think, of a Beethoven cello sonata where there is truly equality of the parts. We play off of each other, and to play a piece like this is, again, it's a very special experience, because when you practice it alone, you're really only getting half of the story.
We also talked about some of the challenges and the new discoveries that have come with making music during the pandemic.
I guess the silver lining is that we are creating ways to do things and perhaps waking up other skills that we have that actually really work for us. So I've been having fun networking and speaking to people that I wouldn't have spoken to otherwise. And so that's been a positive thing, because people really miss music. And it's not the same when you turn on a CD. So this acceptance of when we play a recorded performance with no audience, this we have to accept that it's not perfect. I hope the audience listens with those same things in mind, that they realize that musicians aren't able to rehearse together like we had been in the past. So maybe it'll change the way people listen. Certainly has done that for me.
With obstacles in life, I think there's usually opportunity. And so, I've really come to embrace the whole concept of, let's find a way to make music. Let's find a way to get it to an audience, so that, even as things start to get better, I think the idea of recording live performances, whether there's an audience or not, is something that I want to continue to do. One of the first things that I did, when of course the quarantine happened, was in Philadelphia, and a series of performances in an empty church, and we ended up putting them on social media, and the reaction of the audiences, was incredible, and I mean, it touched me deeply. And so the idea of performing for a paid audience at times, or what, you can't make it, so you missed it. No, I mean, that's gone for me. Those of us who have the ability to make music, should always share it, and those are the things that I look forward to continuing to do.
Cellist Rebecca Gilmore and pianist Daniel Lau, this week's featured artists in our virtual chamber music series. Their video performance of Beethoven's Cello Sonata No. 3 will premiere Monday at 5 p.m. on the WHRO Public Media Facebook page. You can find the link to watch and catch up on past performances in the series at whro.org/virtual-concerts. This series is partially supported by funding from the Virginia Commission for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. For WHRO FM, I'm Wayla Shambo.